Word of note, this is not me, but posting up here for a friend who currently resides overseas. Long story, but worth the read. A while back my friend was selling some stuff online, and among the items was a water heater. You know, the ones you see in every community hall/church kitchen. It was in working condition. He threw it up online for $150 and got an email from a person who runs a landscaping business saying he'll give him $100 cash today. Done. 2 weeks later, he got an email saying that it's not working. Weird. So my friend offered to give a full refund or cover repair cost if it's under $100. The guy instead sent an invoice for $400 saying the repair's been done, and if my friend doesn't pay it in 48 hours, he'll send a debt collector after him. He paid it, out of fear, and emailed him the confirmation. The landscaping owner then emailed back saying this is the price you sometimes have to pay when selling second-hand electronics, followed by a "have a great day. Don't let this hold you back," with a at the end of the email. A month later, my friend was in a bar, and he overhears a girl talking about how her boss, who runs a landscaping firm, screwed over some dumbass selling a water heater. My friend said, "Oh damn, I gotta hear this. Do you mind if I join your table?" And the girl said sure and told the story. Her boss had brought a busted water heater from a second-hand store for $25 and a working one for $100, and billed the seller for the repair for the busted one before he sold it on for $300 to some community group. My friend asked who did this so I don't hire that guy to fix up my yard. Ha 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 ha's all around. She says the company name, and lo and behold, it's on the email of the guy my friend sold the water heater to. He was the dumbass in the story. He told me he was pretty angry about it, but COVID then hit, so he had other stuff to worry about. 18 months later, he was browsing the website he originally sold the water heater on, and he saw a bunch of landscaping materials: shovels, gardening stuff, wheelbarrows, lights for working at night, drills, nail guns, some construction materials, and a generator. Now, in my friend's location, apparently, if you're selling a generator, then you need to have a warrant of fitness for it, proving that it works, it's safe, no flayed wires act. Most people ignore it. And he saw that this generator is being sold by the landscaping firm. This generator, he said, just by looking at it, there was no way in hell would it have a WOF. Word of note, failure for a business to provide a WOF upon request for a generator after 2 weeks, when reported to the official departments and enforced by the court. The punishment is a hefty fine, and the courts often force the seller to refund the affected party and pay any costs that they incurred. Evil plotting. Music. 3. He talked to his flatmate, who agreed that they would go 50/50ths on the generator, but he would transfer the money. Now, my friend had never met the landscaping firm owner face to face when selling the water heater. He left it outside, and pickup was confirmed via his security camera. And when he get there, it was clear that the owner, this old grumpy-looking man who enjoyed yelling at his employees, had emptied out his storage unit. The owner was very much as it is, no refund, and the flatmate showed him the transfer confirmation, and they take the generator for $800. No warrant of fitness is provided. They then took it to a friend of theirs who is an electrician, and he agreed to check it and give an invoice for repairs, and to quote the friend, "It would be cheaper to buy a new generator, and to be honest, this generator shouldn't have been sold. It should have been scrapped." They also found that the main identifier number had been scratched off, but not a second number that is often recorded as well on WOFs for tracking purposes. So they got in contact with the seller, telling him the cost for repair, around $5,000. He promptly tells them that he's not paying, as it is no refund, to which they then asked, "Have you got the warrant of fitnesses for this generator?" Silence for 2 days. They followed up with another email asking for it. No response. They then ask again and get an email from him, saying that he'll take it back for $800. They said no, we want the WOF, and they get no response. They emailed him every day for 2 weeks. Nothing. So they printed out the original item listing that had been screenshotted and had been archived on the website, and reported him to the website, and then the government. 4 months later, my friend is in court, and the guy went up to him. He tells him that he will take back the generator for $800, and that my friend and his flatmate will be going in to tell the judge that the seller has refunded them, and that they want it all dropped, and that's what's happening here, full stop, end of story. They are doing what they are told to do. My friend said no. So they went into the courtroom, and it's over very quickly. The inspector the government sent out to inspect the generator stated that it was in poor condition, shouldn't have been sold, was highly unsafe, and that the seller had tried to get the generator awoof in early 2021, but instead had been told that it was to be repaired or scrapped, and that it was not to be sold. They identified it by a second number on the generator that they took down in the original attempt to get it woofed, which had not been scratched out like the first. The judge ordered the landscaping firm owner to refund the flatmate the $800, pay the $5,000 for repairs to the generator, and was ordered to pay a $10,000 fine, which would be given directly to my friend's flatmate as the affected party. When they left the courtroom, the owner was furious and told them that under no uncertain terms was he paying them a penny more, and that he couldn't understand what he had done to deserve such treatment. To which my friend said, "Remember the water heater?" He gave him a very confused look. "Remember the water heater you brought for $100? Well, I do, because I sold it to you, and I know that you had a different one repaired and invoiced me for it." His jaw was on the floor, and to hit it home, he said, "It's a bitch, isn't it, when what goes around comes around, especially when it accumulated interest. You have 48 hours to pay, or a debt collector will be contacted. Remember, this is the price you sometimes have to pay when selling second-hand electronics. Have a great day. Don't let this hold you back." And they left. He paid the $15,000 2 days later. My friend and the flatmate split the $10,000 50/50 as they agreed, combination of rent payments and study stuff. The generator they got repaired, and then got a woof for it before selling it for $1,000 with a newly replaced identifier number. They then went out for a wonderful dinner and night out in town. In short, old landscaping owner rips my friend off $400, so my friend makes him incur $15,000 in expenses. Next story. Dear reader, I had an illustrious 21-year career in the United States Army, USA, which miraculously concluded with an honorable discharge. 21 years and 14 combat deployments produce a lifetime of stories. The overwhelming majority of memories are comical and worth remembering. Like the time I borrowed another human's truck, or the time I relocated an artillery display in my barracks room. However, some memories are extra ammunition after a live fire exercise. Well, FX, worth donating to Chuck and Barry. Memories suppressed so well, they never happened. However, these memories can be unintentionally triggered. I worked at the bad place before attending assessment and selection. Working there was the sole reason for attending selection. The bad place, TBP, was a 3-star command and nursing home for dying careers. TBP was a mixture of National Guard, Army Reserve, active duty, and Department of the Army civilians. It was essential a foreign planet for a soldier who had grown up in regiment and the 82nd Airborne Division. Overnight, I had transitioned from airborne infantry to the equipment tracking officer. It was my sole purpose in life to source pre-deployment training equipment, PDTE, for deploying National Guard and Army Reserve units. These units would request specific types of equipment, and it was my responsibility to source at least 2/3 of the requested equipment. I should mention, my boss at TBP was Department of the Army Civilian, DAC. I had 10 years of service under my belt, and it was the first time my direct supervisor was a civilian. Now, I have no issues with civilians, but I do have issues with horrible leadership. Mike was horrible. Mike was a dirty diaper, full of shit, and always on my ass. Side note, Sloppy. I feel the need to mention TBP recently moved. Reader. Moved. Sloppy. Yes. Deep South one day, and the Midwest the next. Reader. Aliens. Sloppy. Nope. Base realignment and closure. BRAC. Reader. What? Sloppy. The Army decided to close some bases and expand others. Reader. Puzzled. Oh, so what's this have to do with the story? Sloppy. There was 2 active duty soldiers and 2 Department of the Army civilians performing the duties of equipment tracking officers in the Deep South. None of them moved, and all continuity was lost. Reader. Okay, there had to be some kind of transition though, right? Sloppy. Yes. All 4 of them spent countless hours informing me how terrible of a human Mike was via email. Reader. Oh. Story time again. Dear reader, I had no earthly idea what my job was, or how I was to perform it initially. Making matters worse, I would quickly learn Mike had no earthly idea either. Mike only knew what Z, final product, looked like, and was mentally unaware of the other 26 letters in the alphabet. Mike was less useful than blinker fluid and football bats. Fear not, dear reader, it only took 3 months of working from 500 to 2300 to garner a nascent understanding of my roles and responsibilities. Thankfully, I had wonderful counterparts at sister organizations. Furthermore, they were all equally aware of how useful Mike was. Fast forward 4 months. The section was still composed of exactly 1 sloppy. I was 25% of the total allotted manpower performing 100% of the duties. If you wait until the last minute, it only takes a minute, was my battle cry. Life was grand. I had developed standard operating procedures, SOPs, and automated matrices to assist me. I was even starting to catch errors from the department that validates equipment requests. Note. Remember, it was my duty to source 2/3 of the equipment request. I had a very unpleasant one-way conversation in August of 2011. Captain, CPT, Richard Cranium was requesting I provide 3 Rhino buses for training. Dear reader, I kindly explained why fulfilling this request was unfeasible. Problem solved. Right? Nope. I then received a call from Lieutenant Colonel, LTC, Richard Cranium. I then received a call from Colonel COL Richard Cranium. The issue quickly became a self-licking ice cream cone of chaos. Ring, ring, ring. Sloppy. The bad place. G4 Equipment Tracking Officer. This is Rank A. Sloppy speaking. How may I help you, sir, or mom? Caller. This is Major General, MG, Richard Cranium from the California National Guard. Side note, civilian readers, the Major General is the boss dickhead for all National Guard soldiers in the state of California. Sloppy does not get calls from general officers, GOs. Ever. Sloppy. How can I help you, sir? MG Richard Cranium, angry. I am calling to inquire as to why you will not fulfill our equipment request. Is it not your POLIC to PURVID to THIRTs? Dear reader, I was now a bit agitated. I had clearly explained the issue to the company commander, battalion commander, and brigade commander. I now have an irate god-level commander on the phone, and 2 courses of action, COAs, are cycling through my mind. I could kindly explain why this request was absurd, or I could go full regiment sloppy. Slot machine sloppy. Pulls lever. Wheels spinning. Still spinning. Regiment sloppy. Sloppy. Sir, I clearly explained to the previous commanders why I cannot fulfill their request, and provided other options. MG Richard Cranium. I do NTWANTOPTI Vodens rank sloppy. I went to my 3 Rhino BUSEs. Sloppy. Time to get fired attitude. Roger, sir. Well, as I told the previous commanders, there are only 5 Rhino buses that exist on Earth. 3 of them are deployed to Iraq, and the other 2 are in Afghanistan. Do you wish for me to forward this equipment request to Forces Command? FORSCOMM/4-star General. NG Richard Cranium. Oh, that won't be necessary, Raining Key Sloppy. Sloppy? Are you sure, sir? I mean I can. NG Richard Cranium. No, did you explain this to? Sloppy. Every single one of them, sir. NG Richard Cranium. Disregard. I have some phone calls to make. Dear reader, the world was right again. At least I thought it was. It appears the Major General was slow to contact his subordinate leadership. The Colonel had contacted Mike demanding I supply his unit with Rhino buses. One would think a simple explanation would suffice for Mike, but one would be wrong. Common sense is an elusive, fickle creature for Mike. It was like trying to explain what number the letter purple tastes like. Mike, did you tell you met they see and have a piece of equipment? Sloppy. Yes, sir. Mike, why? Sloppy. Because there are only 5 of them, and they are all deployed to combat zones. Mike, well, you need to figure out how to jiki them. Sloppy brain. Ah, is this man fucking serious? Sloppy brain. Laughing. I think he is. Sloppy. Like call the Pentagon and ask them to redeploy them from combat because some unit needs to train with them. Mike, it's not your job to validate equipment. It's your job to source it. Do you understand? Sloppy. Lip service. Roger that, sir. Dear reader, when one door closes, check for an open window. I had over 90 units on my desk and 30,000 pieces of equipment to source for the month of August. It didn't take long to find a window to crawl out. I found a unique request from an infantry unit. They requested a plethora of equipment, and it all made sense, minus 4 pieces of equipment. Sloppy brain. Pretty sure those 4 pieces of equipment need to be on a different type of request, right? Sloppy brain. Yeah, but it's not your job to validate it. Sloppy brain. Oh, right. Dear reader, I sourced it. All 4 of them. It was not an easy task either. I literally had to scour the entire country for available inventory. I made phone call after phone call to make this request happen. None of the items were collocated. They would need to be transported from the far stretches of the continental United States, and failure was not an option. I had fulfilled my responsibilities. I sourced the equipment and turned it over to Mike for signature. Mike's signature magically allocates funding and authorizes the transportation of said equipment. Dear reader, shit typically rolls downhill. However, this specific request defied the laws of gravity. Shit was going to roll uphill. I crawled back through the window and waited a month for the fallout to ensue. Truth be told, due to my heavy workload, I had forgotten about my magnificent accomplishment. It was another horrible day at work until I received a magical phone call. Ring, ring, ring. Sloppy, the bad place, G4 Equipment Tracking Officer. This is Ranky Sloppy speaking. How may I help you, sir or mom? Caller. Hello, I am Sergeant First Class, SFC, Ricky Body. I am the Long Range Surveillance, ORS Platoon Sergeant for UNIT name. Sloppy. Hey Ricky, how can I help you? SFC Ricky Body. Well, I am looking at 4 helicopters, and I am told I need to sign for them. Sloppy. Yes, mode. Let me look at your request. Shuffling noises. Sloppy. Yes. You requested 2 U-60 Litters Blackhawk helicopters and 2 U-47 Chinook helicopters. Sloppy. Laughing. Don't worry, man. I've got your back. I have already coordinated with our aviation validators to support your request. I will give you their number. SFC Ricky Body. I'm ready to copy. Sloppy. 867-5309. SFC Ricky Body. Thanks, man. Sloppy. Call me back if you have any issues, brother. I will walk upstairs. Key 3/operations and get this sorted so you boys can do a spies and fries. SFC Ricky Body. WILSO. Will comply. Man. Dear reader, not only does shit roll uphill, but shit rolls uphill faster than I expected. I had just hung up the phone and was departing for lunch. I didn't make it 5 feet before I was beckoned to Mike's office. There are 4 chairs in Mike's office, one with a load-bearing capacity of at least 400 pounds, and 4 normal people chairs. I was awkwardly surprised to find it was already standing room only. The G4 Colonel, Deputy G4, Civilian/DAC, and G3, Operations, Colonel were already in Mike's office. Mike, it seems we have an issue, Ranky Sloppy. Sloppy brain. We. Sloppy. Really? I am not aware of any issues, sir. Mike, well, U-19 is at Fort Hood, and the battalion commander is wondering why one of his platoon sergeants signed for 4 helicopters. Sloppy. Shocked. Did they request 4 helicopters? I can go get the equipment request. Mike, I have it. Right here. In my hands. Sloppy. Puzzled. Okay. Did they request? Mike, yes. They did. Sloppy. I don't understand the G4 Colonel. The issue is, we needlessly shipped 4 helicopters across the United States. G3 Colonel. There are already helicopters at Fort Hood. Helicopters and pilots, there to support spies and fries training. They are there specific for this type of request. G4 Colonel. Rank Sloppy. Did this request not look odd to you? Sloppy brain. Hysterical laughter. Sloppy. Absolutely, sir. Entire room. Show CKDFACs, just baffled as fuck. G4 Colonel. Then why did you source it? Sloppy RETELL's entire Archino BUSSSAGA. Sloppy. Sir, as I understand it, it's not my job to be VALIDAT. It's my job you is it. Mike made it very clear on multiple occasions. Mike, angry. Rank Sloppy, do you realize you just cost the Army over $100,000 to ship equipment we didn't need to ship? Sloppy. Sir. G3 Colonel. Pissed off. No, Mike. You just cost the Army over $100,000. Mike. Sir. G4 Colonel. Mike. It is your signature that authorizes allocation of money and shipping. Did you tell Ranky Sloppy it's his job to source? To not validate anything and only source? Mike. Sir, I did, but G4 Colonel starts walking out. G4 Colonel. Mike. Let's have a meeting. In my office. Sloppy brain. Oh, that sounds bad. Sloppy brain. Yeah, but Mike. Not us. Sloppy. Right. Sloppy retreats to desk. Side note. I know the G3 Colonel. We had worked in the same unit when he was a major. G3 Colonel follows Sloppy. Sits on Sloppy's desk. G3 Colonel, laughing hysterically. How in the fuck did you do it? Sloppy. Do what? G3 Colonel. Find 4 helicopters. Sloppy. I called everyone. I leveraged my network of contacts and made it my mission. G3 Colonel. What did your counterparts say about the request? Sloppy. They have the same sentiments towards Mike. G3 Colonel. Shaking his head. Honestly. That's impressive. Sloppy. Sir, I was going to get shit on either way. So I decided. Fuck Mike. G3 Cologne. Yup. Fuck Mike, I guess. Dear reader, thank you for reading my petty Army revenge. PR. I have good news. I no longer worked for Mike after that interaction. Other misdeeds, stories, came to light after that encounter. I had a long desk-side meeting with the G4 colonel and fully detailed my relationship with Mike. It's nearly impossible to fire Department of the Army civilians, but it was easy to move me. The G3 colonel found a more suitable position for an infantryman. It also sucked, but he gave me ample time to prepare for assessment and selection. I was at TBP for 18 horrible months before I found greener pastures. I could lament on all the horrible things, but it's not worth it. Why? At least I know where to go if I ever need 4 fucking helicopters. Cheers. Sloppy. Next story.